Hello, Human Universe! So recently, my brother Michael posted this video to Jack and Jellyfy where he and I rummaged through an old fake newspaper I had written in 6th grade called The Number Playground Chronicle, and it features characters like 4 and X, but also other characters in that same universe like math symbols and equations and all that. And in this video, I want to show you some more behind the scenes content from that same newspaper, because if you go to the Google Drive linked in the description, I've uploaded all the scans to that Google Drive, and there's 5 sections. And in the video itself, we only show you section A. So there's really five times as much content for you to look at. Although section A is the longest, so it's not quite 5 times. Anyway, we're in the Google Drive folder now, and section A is the one that we're all familiar with at this point. This is the main cover that we've seen. This is some story about the numbers dancing, because at the end, like, everyone has their own dance. Like 7 goes like back and forth like this, and I remember my mom thought that was like really cute, the way that 7 just kind of bobs back and forth. Like, that's not really a dance, but it looks kind of silly, so she liked that. And then there's the down advertisement. Okay, let me make a little thing smaller, but let's see. I want to talk about the pages that you haven't seen. So I don't really understand some of the jokes that I was writing in here. Like, I had this advertisement for finger beanies, which is like you have for 5 fingers and each one gets a little beanie hat on it. And then I say they're only $700 each. Fingers can now wear beanies too. And I mean, I guess it's kind of funny, but I feel like I'm missing out on some joke. Like, maybe my friend group thought beanies were really funny at the time. And then there's an advertisement for the Polygon bookstore. Visit the Polygon bookstore, full of rectangle polygons, 2 sentences. Oh, right. So there's this author, Rectangle Polygon, can I zoom in, who writes a lot of articles in this newspaper, and they're always exactly 2 sentences. So this article is titled True Equation in the Equation Playground, and he wrote, "On the morning of the ball dropping incident, an equation in the equation playground was formed. 1 + 1 = 2, period. 4 integer and x variable walked by the equation that morning." And see, that's two sentences, and then like there's a diagonal square to end off the article, because we used to get the San Francisco Chronicle, and that's the way they would finish their articles. But yeah, I mean, the joke is that if you read an article that's only 2 sentences, it's not going to be very substantial. Anyway, this integer drops ball page was read in the video, so I'm not going to read it again. Now this page, A6 and A7, features something that I was really interested in at the time, which is called lipograms. And that's where you choose one letter of the English language and you choose not to include it for a prolonged passage. So you write a whole story or something, and you try to avoid using this letter. And in this lipogram, I avoided the letter E, but I wasn't very good at it. This is about nonagon polygon. I think, like, I didn't even know how to describe E. Like, these days, when people want to avoid E, they'll say like, oh, that 5th glyph, which is also a bit of a stretch. But I said, nonagon polygon has no 5th, A, B, C, D, E, no, A, B, C, D, blank, A, B, C, D, blank, F, what's in a blank? That's how you refer to E in nonagon's writing. So that's kind of stilted. I can't say the word stilted. That is kind of awkward to talk about your so many words have E's. I was gonna say that, like, to describe like what method of writing she's doing, but so many E's were in that, so I'm not gonna try doing it live. It's just not possible. Okay, so this article is written by nonagon polygon, so it's two sentences again, and there was this really famous, okay, I don't know why I'm calling it famous, the scene in X finds out his value. Oh, I'm gonna provide some like behind the scenes content, I guess. So my 6th grade math teacher, who taught pre-algebra, he was the one who gave us the assignment where we should create some sort of multimedia project to advertise learning about algebra. And most people just wrote stories, I think. But Michael and I were the only ones who created cartoons, and that's where X finds out his value comes from. But that math teacher always said that we should use pencils to do math instead of pens, because you can always erase with pencils in case you make mistakes, which is common in math. So his catchphrase was, "And don't forget to always use a pencil." And so that's the reason 4 does it in the cartoon, because I'm kind of like nodding or like approving of my math teacher's catchphrase, and it's like his arm's really long as he's holding his giant pencil in front of the camera screen. I thought that was pretty advanced, so that's why that's being drawn here. And then there's a two sentence article written by four integer gets extended arm, written by rectangle polygon. For integer, a math teacher of x variable has his arm extended for 2 seconds just to hold up an ordinary pencil. That's not newsworthy. To tell x variable to use a pencil and it'll work out even though there are too many these are all of these inserted quotes. To tell x variable to use a pencil and it'll work out even though there are too many numbers. Because that's actually a direct quote. As x variable says, is how integer starts his very first lesson with his new student x variable who is depressed for not knowing what his true value is. That is an extremely wordy run-on sentence, so that's not good. But what was I going to say? Yeah, I think it's kind of funny how, in newspapers, they always refer to people by their last name to show like dignity and respect and all that. But for an X, calling them integer and variable, because that's their supposed last names, just sounds wrong since everybody has those last names. Anyway, I had this coupon with an extremely jagged cut line. Coupon for crouton. Okay, I gotta move my little webcam all the time. And then at the bottom, I have a blank advertisement, which is extremely not funny. But it references the comics section at the end, which I think is kind of funny. Is it in section A? I don't know. Okay, so this is the article that was in the video, so I'm not going to mention it because you can watch the video if you want to see it. And then the phone book, which is really funny because there's only 2 phone numbers and they're the shortest phone numbers ever. Also, tying this into the BFDI universe. Do you remember in episode 2 when there's a commercial break as they're going through the obstacle course, and then like it's the first appearance of Yellowface, and then and then buy our gumball, and the gumball goes into the Yellowface's mouth, and then they say, if you want a gumball, call the number in your screen. And what number is it? It's 2. I mean, okay, obviously these are 2 different universes, but I think it's funny to think maybe that means that X is the one who's selling the gumballs because you're calling X's phone number. Oh, by the way, if someone does have the phone number 2 in the real world, don't call them. We shouldn't be harassing random strangers, but also I don't think that phone number exists. Okay, so that's section A. Now it's time to move on to the sections you guys have never seen. So to you, your eyes have never experienced this. This is section B. B for business, and that's why X is going like, business! And yeah, the voice bubble is going to his mouth, like 3D into his mouth. I mean, that was in the video itself too, so that's not new. Oh yeah, a lot of these covers were drawn by Cube Polyhedron. And I guess the cover design was by 6 integer, which is funny because 6 is actually now a character. And then there's these like news stories at the top. Will the equation playground... Oh yeah, see, this is what I think is really funny. In 2008, 2009, we were going into the Great Recession. Many of you might be too young to remember, but I guess there was a housing crisis, and a lot of homeowners went underwater and couldn't afford anything. And yeah, and people lost their jobs. But anyway, because this was also written in 2009, a lot of these jokes are about the recession, and I find it it's like a time capsule. The fact that it says, will the equation playground make it through the recession? It says 8 is more than 7. I don't know if that's like a reference to the fact that, I don't know, 8 people needing food is more than 7 food products that we can sell. I don't know. And then, okay, B2, there's weather. So weather... this is either really funny to you or really boring to you because we have a map of wherever they live. And I mean, okay, I know some people are going to like start documenting this, and all of this is nonsensical. We have like, well, I mean, the towns are really silly. There's Happy Town, Polyville, Integer City. And then there's like a cold front and a warm front. But also if you just look at what's happening, there's a sun symbol and there's a rain symbol at the same time. I mean, I guess it's possible to have a sun shower where it's sunny and raining, but then we also have an X front. Like, that is the most ridiculous. So we have a cold and warm front here, but this is an X front, and air can't be X, so that doesn't make sense. And then there's like stats. These are like the weather, the temperatures, and the rainfall and all that, which is also kind of boring unless you're really into this stuff, because some of these things don't make any sense. Integer City tomorrow will have a high temperature of 117 degrees, but a low of -60. So that's going to like break some world record. But Happy Town is only between 1 and 2 degrees, but it's going to receive 26 inches of rain within 24 hours and 170% humidity. Well, I guess like 100% humidity just means the amount of water in the air is the most that like most water vapor it can hold. So if it actually starts condensing into actual water, you could have over 100% humidity. I don't know. But then like things get even worse because on Tuesday, Happy Town has negative precipitation, which means the water's going to come up from the ground or something. And like not even numeric temperatures, it just says high and low. And I don't know, Integer City has negative humidity, so things are getting kind of weird. And then on Wednesday, okay, so all of these are still kind of weird. Integer City has still guessing for precipitation, which is honestly fine. This is like 4 days out. But humidity is 80.807734%. And that's really cool because if you flip it upside down, it says hello, Bob. And I was really into those like calculator number flipping words back then. But what are the chances that if you measure the humidity, it happens to be this 8-digit number that lines up exactly? So yeah, this is like weird. That I created a weather forecast for a fictional universe. Okay, so this is the article that's relevant to the recession. Oh, it's written by Rectangle Polygon, which means it has to be only 2 sentences. I don't know how that's going to work. Okay, let me just read it really fast. Written by Rectangle Polygon, the bubble company, a bubble product manufacturing company, manages to squeeze through the recession with a whopping 3% of the whole population of the number playground buying at least one product from the bubble company, or just one customer, 6 integer. See, because there's only 30 people in the whole world, so 1% is 3%. Now here's 6. I actually think that my drawing of 6 here is extremely neat. Like, I'm impressed how round those curves are. Like, as a 12-year-old, okay, 12-year-olds can draw pretty round curves, so that's fine. So 6 goes, is this an interview? I don't like being interviewed. Stop. And then like really annoying, wah! Like no one cries like that. That's only in cartoons. Anyway, explains 6 integer, who does not appear to be too enthusiastic about buying his bubble company Baby Bubble Blower 7000 copyrighted anymore. While 3 integer fraction, Bubble Company CEO seems pretty happy, Well, with the $1.49 we got from 6, I could pay my one employee, Pentagon Polygon, to work for exactly 15 minutes, which is pretty long. Yeah, so I think, it's funny because like this is a company big enough to have articles written about them, but they only get one sale a year, and that one sale gives them $1.50 of revenue. Also, if Pentagon Polygon is working for 15 minutes to get $1.49, that means that they're being paid $5.95 an hour, which is below minimum wage, but I don't know if it was in 2009. So that's, also a time capsule thing. Oh, and also I have this little graphic here, which I think is really funny. And also the main thing I wanted to point out to you guys. So when people say like, oh, can this company squeeze through the recession? I like visually have a bubble squeezing through like a narrow passageway. And this is after BFDI bubble existed, but this bubble is a different bubble. And photos by N Variable, because N Variable is a famous photographer. Okay, equation playground, okay or not? Equation playground, okay. Okay, so this is like the two sides of the coin, right? The bubble company is like floundering because they're only getting $1.49 of revenue the whole year. But then equation playground, just read this, okay? So this is written by Pyrational. They wrote equation playground, oh wait, hold up. This is covering it up again, isn't it? Okay, equation playground, okay. Admission price has moved down to $60,000. So it used to be above that. With an average of 45 admissions a day for the past month. Honestly, like number-wise, 45 admissions to a park or a playground is kind of low. Like think about how many people go to Disneyland every day. So they could bump those numbers up. Anyway, for April, the Equation Playground earned $50 million. Okay, I guess that kind of checks out because if you multiply $60,000 by 45, by 30, because there's 30 days in April, you probably get to 50 million. So one company makes $1.49 and the other makes 50 million. But I mean, who's going to go to a playground that costs like more than a luxury car to get into? Okay, comics. This is the most important one because this is going to make you laugh your socks off or maybe make your eyes roll. Because, when I was a kid and we got the newspaper every day, I would always go right to the Dateline section because I had all the comic strips. Anyway, so Divide Guys. Wait, no. Divide Guys is the most famous comic strip. This is way before Fall Guys ever existed. So it's written by a Divide operator who says, "Ha ha, why am I laughing?" Also, that's a really weird way to contract, why am I laughing? Just why am I laughing? So this comic, this is so dumb. So this comic has more laughs. Like, it literally has no punchline. Why am I laughing? So this comic has more laughs. Oh, and then these are reviews. Okay, you can just read them for yourself. Sickened and horrified. Like, I wrote in italics so much. Like, I wanted to really emphasize. Oh my god! And someone even gave him 1 star. Yeah. My eyes. Operator shouldn't get paid to do this. I could do better. But it's like, honestly, this comic has no punchline, but it's also like innocuous. It's not doing anything bad. So like, I think these reviews are a little too negative. And then this one, okay, I want to talk about this. Okay, so this one is called Face. Okay, I don't know if there's some inside joke here, but written by Triangle Polygon. Someone in a big panel is saying big panel, and then they're saying small panel. These jokes are so bad. Like, what the heck? Okay, then it gets better ratings though. I would give the first comic better ratings, but they both are not that good. 6 out of 10. Okay, and then the funny thing, okay, this isn't funny, but the interesting thing is half of the reviews, oh, by the way, one of the reviews just says, ha 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 ha. That's like a YouTube comment level review. I'd expect if you're like a newspaper level contractualized reviewer, you should write full sentences. You know, you're being paid to do this. Oh, and then, okay, this last review is someone who is like literally being kidnapped, and he's going, ow, dumb duct tape. But why would you type that? That makes no sense. Anyway, a few of the comments are about this code, and it's this code that shows up in the corner of the comic strip. It's XVXLL and XVXLL. What the? XVXLL? Like, it's kind of weird, right? Like, it's so random. I think what I was doing at the time was I was creating an ARG. I don't know if that's the right phrase for it. Like, some sort of like mysterious kind of game / mystery puzzle solving thing among my friends in real life, where like they had to figure out some like secret message, and like, you know, you look at my newspaper, it gives you a code, and then like if you use that code maybe in a classroom somewhere, then it unlocks something else, and you kind of follow along this trail of clues, and then eventually gets you some grand answer. But the interesting thing is I don't remember any of this, and I also don't know what the end prize of it was. So all we get 13 years later is one step of this long trail, and that step is XVXLL. And that's so like baffling to me, just to think what it could have been like signifying. Like, I don't know if that's like a passcode to some lock or something. Anyway, oh, this is really funny. Okay, so there's a lot of funny things on this last page because, you know, it's still comics, but like compact. It's only a single page now. I was really into Sudoku puzzles back then. The joke here is this is literally an oak tree in a cage because the oak tree has been sued. So the guy's saying, oh, sued oak? Ooh. Which is really dumb. And then the Sudoku puzzle is really funny because it's a 2x2, which is ridiculously easy. Most Sudokus are a 9x9. But the puzzle is written upside down, and the answer is written right in front of you. Usually it's the other way around, right? Like, they'll try to write the puzzle in the front and make the answer really small and upside down so that you don't spoil it yourself. But this is like flipped, and that's the joke. Also, the puzzle is redundant. I can't get rid of this dumb magnifying glass. The puzzle's redundant because if you have a 2x2 Sudoku, you only need one clue, like that one here, to solve the entire thing. This other one is already obvious because there's only one other place that the one could be in the second row or first row. I don't know. You know what I mean if you're a Sudoku solver. If you're not a Sudoku solver, none of that's going to make sense. Okay, so Goiki is the third and final comic strip, and this is also the one that seems the most substantial. So I think that's one. Okay, yeah. One gives 2 a book. I think that's 2, but 2 looks weird because his face is so high. Here's a book. 2 says, gee, thanks. 2 says, I don't have $5 right now. I'll pay you later. Okay, so that sounds like loaning or something. Then 7, okay, now my scribbles have gotten more sloppy. 7 says, here's a bubble blower ultimate. 6 says, oh, wow. But 6 also says, gee, I don't have any money. I guess I owe you. So 7's like owed a lot of money now. Later, 7 says, give me $10. And this is to 8. And the 8 says, why? And then, or why? Or however 8 talks. And then 7 says, also, this panel artwork, you only see the tops of their heads, which is extremely sloppy. This is like 2 lines to depict the 2 characters. 7 says, well, 2 and 6 both owe me $5, so you owe me $10. Oh, that's so funny. Oh my god, because, the characters, they sum up to a different character's name. See, this is the only one where I think there's actually a punchline, even though it's still not very funny. But I guess it kind of makes sense, and this is like a humor that would only exist in the number playground, right? It can't exist in the real world because real people don't have numbers as names. Okay, and then I really, really want to show you this, the Dear Square segment. So in my local newspaper, there's a section I think called Dear Abby or something, where there's basically a columnist who gives people advice. So like the readers will submit her questions about like a difficult life situation, like a divorce, or maybe like their cat died, and they want to ask Abby, what should I do to help myself feel better and get through this? And Abby will give them advice. Yeah, it makes sense. So in this world, that person is Square, but Square is not very helpful. So the writer says, Dear Square, I'm afraid I might trip. What should I do? I don't want to fumble, stumble, then tumble, which is like, nice job in rhyming. It's like a little jingle. And then, oh yeah, for these advice columns, it's always signed by like a phrase describing the person. So the person is called scared of tripping. And that's so that like the writer gets to keep their privacy. They don't have their, private name released to the world. But then like when Square responds, they only use the first name. So that's why they say Dear Scared. So the advice, the reason why Square has this occupation and this expertise, the advice is, Dear Scared, try not to trip. It's like 4 words. It's so simple. It's like, wow, I didn't think about that. But that's not the funny one. I think this is my favorite. My favorite one is the second one, which says, Dear Square, everything changes so fast. It's shocking. From dumbfounded. And then we have to take the first name of it, right? Because it's like, you got to be casual. So it just says, Dear Dumb. I just love that. Dear Dumb. Because dumbfounded doesn't mean dumb. It just means like shocked, right? So yeah, Dear Dumb. And then like, that was already the joke. So I was like, I don't know what Square even needs to say after this. So I just wrapped it up as quickly as possible. Dear Dumb, you are shocked, deal with it. This is such bad advice. Okay, so yeah, that's section B. Also, I feel kind of bad for laughing at my own joke because that's like arrogant. But it was like a person from over half my life ago. So I think I'm allowed. Okay, section C, sports. I didn't do sports when I was in middle school, and I still don't do sports today. Also, I don't want this video to be too long, so I'll just like go through this really fast. Okay, so we have 4 in like simplified form here. He's not fleshed out. And covered by Y variable, designed by times operator. Okay, number teleport, is it good for you? Catch gets more popular. So catch is considered a sport in this world. An interview with a former athlete, C7. Okay, so let's see if there's anything interesting to talk about. Okay, so this is a debate about, so 4, as 4 is putting numbers on the equation of playground, which you actually see in X finds out its value, the seesaw like tinkers around back and forth as it's like getting balanced. But like this article is discussing whether this is a sport and whether it's ethically okay, because like 4 grabs 8 and throws him onto the playground, the seesaw, which could be painful, like if you land really hard, and so that's not good. So I guess there are QB is a judge. QB is not Blocky, and QB has decreed that each number should spend 6 months in number prison for tossing each number because of the laws broken. Here are the laws. 1. Tossing numbers makes the tossed feel inferior and humiliated. Sentence, 1 month per number tossed. 2. The tossed may get injured. Sentence, 2 months per number tossed. 6 months if the number gets injured. 3. It may start a riot. Sentence, 3 months. I think this is interesting because like, I was 12 at the time, but like these things that I'm referencing are actually things that exist in the legal system. Like if someone wants to commit murder and they fail and the victim survives, they get a lighter sentence, which you might at first not think it should make a difference because like their intention was the same, and like if they succeeded, it would have been just as bad an outcome. It's just a quirk of the universe that made them fail. But the reason that is the case is because they don't want to motivate a failed murderer to like finish off the job and like I shouldn't be saying these words in a YouTube video, but like they want to motivate a failed unaliver to like keep the victim alive, because then like people survive, and then like the failed unaliver will get a lighter sentence, but as long as it saves the victim, it's okay. I think that's the idea behind it. I could be wrong, but this idea on point 2 is a similar thing. There's 2 months if the number could get tossed, could get injured, but 6 months if they actually do get injured. Anyway, the top number tosser for integer should be sentenced to 5 years in prison because 10 people tossed. But his lawyer, okay, he is a lawyer. Who is the lawyer? I don't know. Says that integer did it for educational purposes. And that's true. We all learned how to do algebra because of their tossing and their equation manipulating. 3 integer, however, must spend 6 months in jail for throwing 5 integer out of the way to get a ball. That's a reference to the catch article from earlier. Then there's an advertisement that references BFDI, or the other way around, is a predecessor to BFDI. So episode 21 of BFDI, there's this part that says, please donate money to the No More Advertisements Foundation to keep ads like these from appearing in TV shows. But in this case, it says to keep ads like these from appearing in these newspapers. And since this appeared in episode 21 of BFDI, that was 2011. This was written in 2009. So this is the original source. This is 2 years earlier. So yeah. Also, I like how there's like dollar signs, like just like as a banner across the whole thing. It's like the background, everything we're thinking about is dollar signs. Please donate money. We need donations. But it's a No More Advertisement Foundation. Okay, this video is 20 minutes long. I gotta pick up the pace. C4, do not worry, it's only a page number. There's a joke because C4 is like, a boom boom thing. I don't know if I should say the word because of YouTube. Okay, yeah, this is weird. Okay, this is kind of interesting. Bubble blowing, is it a sport or not? And then it's like every article has a subheader of the author. So it says written by Octahedron Polygon. And then there's like a fourth wall breaking joke. Then Rectangle Polygon's like, no, it's written by Rectangle Polygon. And then Octahedron does this pose, which is like, appears all the time in BFDI, but this is earlier than all of them. He's like, okay, rolling his eyes. Okay, sure, it's not a big deal, Mr. Selfish. And then Rectangle's like, thank you. It should be written by me. It should. All right, 2 sentences, of course. You and your 2 sentence articles. I'm running out of room. Oh, and then we have to still write an article into 2 sentences in like this tiny spot. Is bubble blower a sport or not? I guess I'll never know. I guess that was 2 sentences, but you said nothing. Like you always say nothing. Okay, so Cash is getting popular. They have a $100,000 cash prize. The author is always running caps because they keep getting mad because they are 3 integer. And I guess in this universe, 3 integer has a really short fuse. And then I have an advertisement for stacking eggs on top of each other. Maybe there was some like challenge at my middle school at the time where like people try to stack eggs on top of each other. I don't know why else I would put this in here. And I also don't know why I called the fictional grocery store Tracy's One Nosy Cart. It feels like one of those things where it's like if you change each word with its opposite, it becomes a different thing. Like, how I used to say like heaven high poop push, which the opposite is hello people. Tracy's One Nosy Cart sounds like one of those things, but I cannot figure for the life of me what it's supposed to turn into. So that'll be a mystery. Okay, then this is a really dumb article. So Zero Integer is like a famous athlete, but every time he does an interview, he has to like tape all these objects to his body and then hold this pose. I don't know why I wrote that. I don't think it's very funny. So we'll skip past it, but you can read it if you want. Yeah, there's all the text. See, these are the steps to put on the interview giving uniform or something. And that's the end. Okay, so we got to pick up the pace because this video has to be fast. You have other days, other things to do today. D for Datebook, which is all about movies, right? Because, yeah. So we're going to be talking about the films of the Number Playground universe. This is a joke in reference to like, if you guys ever did standardized testing in the United States, a lot of times they'll give you these booklets and there will be pages that say this page was intentionally left blank. I think it has to do with like the way that you feed that booklet into a machine to have it grade your test automatically. The machine can't have certain pages have like markings on it. But then this is a joke because it's like, oh, we can't figure out why it's left blank. Whatever. Okay, so this is more of Zero's interview from the last section, so I don't want to read that. Why did he take so many pages on this one interview? Okay, so now here's the actual Datebook. So these are the real movies. So this is an ad. Wow. I loved writing ads. Like half of this newspaper is ads, but they're all fake. Okay, so it says, want to watch a movie but hate all those other people watching? Our new mini theater is all watches but you proof. And it's 699 quadrillion, 999 trillion, 999 billion, 999 million, 999,999 payments of 699 quadrillion, 999 trillion, 999 billion, 999 million, 999,999. And it only plays a 5-second film. And I think it's like a box where there's like a little pinhole in it and you stare through the hole. And then like the movie plays inside of the box. And that's why it's all watches but you proof. Because if your eye is like right up against that 2mm hole, that's like 0.1 inches. No one else can see through it. So that's the ad. So now we finally get to see what movies exist in this universe after like 4 pages. Movie 1 is 2 stars. It's playing 4 times today at 9:20 a.m. That's real early for a movie. Around noon, 1:30, and 2:55. The next movie, and this is the first movie that has a real title, is called Your Life. How It Ends. And it plays at 7:60, which means it'll never play. Oh, maybe that's like hinting that like you're gonna live forever because it will never end. So maybe that's like a philosophical statement. Oh, and then there's a joke here because like the word theater is either spelled THEATRE or ER, depending if you're like British or American. And this is my joke that they can't decide on it. Long movie, can you watch it all? And the joke is, look, it's playing 3 times once a minute, so the movie can't be longer than a minute. Anvil and the Buddhist Monks. That's the joke on the show. Alvin and the Chipmunks. Anvil and Alvin are anagrams. Popcorn Stand. This is the only movie that got 5 stars. Wait, this isn't a movie. Oh. Because it's like you're buying popcorn before the movie, and that's the only thing that you want to do because everything else here is rated 1 or 2 stars. Red Bull Bouncing. See, Red Bull Bouncing is like every animator's first project when they first learn how to animate is always like a red ball bouncing up and down. So that's why it's a movie, because I guess someone turned to a movie. And then there's another advertisement telling you don't watch movies. Watching movies is bad, bad, bad. It ruins eyesight, shortens attention span. Well, now it's much worse because of like TikTok. Okay, well maybe not, but you know, a movie captures your attention for 2 hours. So if you can sit through that, I think your attention span is pretty solid. Well, this ad is also suggesting that watching movies lowers your intelligence, turns muscle into mush. In short, it kills, and then here's a graphic, knife to kill. Okay, I think at this point, yeah, this is where I gave up, or like, I guess I didn't have enough time to continue the Datebook, because Polygon, the critical critic, criticizes the movie Anvil and the Buddhist Monks, which we mentioned earlier. So Polygon, Quadrilateral Polygon is the critic, and you can see he has this smug face on. His limbs are all contorted, like he's sitting on a chair or something. I don't know. But okay, so variable. So variable is the interviewer, and Polygon is the critic. Variable says, "Wait, where is it? Gosh, I can't find it anyone." Yeah, and then there's swearing. Where is that beep? Quadrilateral Polygon. That beep. Wow. Just fill it in with your imagination, and it sounds quite obscene. Then Polygon, the critic, says, I'm right here. And Variable says, so now you're trying to connect with me? You beep! And then this is almost like a surrealist humor kind of thing. Polygon. Silence. For the rest of eternity. Right? I think what must have happened is like around that time period, it was like getting close to the end of 6th grade school year, so I had to like prepare for the final exams or something. So we'll never get to know how Polygon reacted to Variable's kind of uncalled for swearing. I guess maybe Polygon just walked out. So we actually don't get to see much about movies. And I think because I didn't finish section D, I didn't finish section E either. This one was like not even started. But this one was going to be about health, which is like, you know what health is. But I love this cover. This cover is one of my favorites. It's also kind of graphic, so if you're squeamish, well, it's too late. You already saw it. So we have 2 holding up their own stomach, and since 2 is like now a pretty major character in BFDI, you can almost imagine this in 2's voice. I can't do 2's voice, so I'll just say it in my own voice. Look, it's my stomach. Since its acid has a pH lower than 3, it could hurt you. Now every one of you give me $10,000 each, or I'll burn you with my stomach acid. That is so sinister. I think the pH of stomach acid is closer to 1, and I think it is strong enough to burn people. But I also don't think this strategy works. Like pulling the stomach out of your body. What is that? Oh, that's photo booth. I don't know why that showed up. That was like a jump scare. Carrie jump scared himself. Okay, and this is all blank. So that's the end. I mean, I guess, yeah, I didn't intend to get through the entire Number Playground Chronicle with you guys. I thought I was only going to show you the highlights, but let's be real. The entire thing was a highlight. Okay, anyway. Yeah, so there's like just so much of this kind of unearthed old school ancient footage that like there is of the BFDI universe. I don't know why, but like a lot of it gets like shelved on these books that are like in the shed, and I forget about them for decades, but they're still there, and it's kind of fun to go back and unearth them. But I guess I spent like 90% of my free time in middle school just drawing, so that's why there's so much of it. Yeah, okay. So I hope that you enjoyed watching. Maybe if you guys want to like create your own twists on the Number Playground Chronicle and maybe like finish section E and D, like create a health section if you want. Talk about the ways in which, maybe Times Operator comes up with this detox cleanse smoothie that you can drink and it'll like make you healthy. I feel like that's something that would be in one of these newspapers. Go ahead, because I'm not going to finish this newspaper. Like, I think for anything that's like older than like 5 years old, for me it's kind of reached like fossil status, and when it reaches fossil status, it's like I don't want to touch it even. I want it to stay in its preserved form because it's a time capsule of like how I thought, what my humor was like in that time period. So I wouldn't want to finish it even. But if you guys want to, if you want to create your entirely new newspapers, go ahead and you can publish them. You can even uncensor the swearing of that variable interviewer if you want. Anyway, okay, yeah, this video is like half an hour now. So thank you for watching me reading through my 13-year-old fake newspaper called the Number Playground Chronicle. Also, the Meetup, BFDI plus II Meetup of 2022 in Los Angeles is happening tomorrow. I guess everyone knows about it now. And that's in less than 24 hours. But I also yesterday recorded a 1.5-minute video of me and some other OSC friends while we were eating lunch in LA. So I'll just append that 1.5-minute video soon, like at the end of this video. So we're going to cut to that video now. But before then, I'll just say goodbye, everyone. And now I'm going to play the video.